Welcome to Razz Reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing Star Wars The Last Jedi.
I'm excited because it's a Star Wars movie. I'm excited. Don't make fun of me.
Don't know the power of the dark side.
Okay, so this is one of the biggest films of the entire year, one of the most anticipated sequels, maybe possibly of all time. If you're a fan of Star Wars, then you know that this movie is out, you've probably seen it, and you probably have a lot of opinions. Interestingly enough, this film has kind of divided audience. Most critics like it, but audience seem to either love it or hate it. Especially die-hard fans seem to have a lot of emotions about this film. I'm a die-hard fan and I have a lot of emotions that I can't wait to share. A very important reminder is that this review is going to be completely spoiler-free. The Last Jedi is directed by Rian Johnson, and it picks up right after The Force Awakens, directed by J.J. Abrams, and the story begins exactly as we left it, on a cliff, in a literal cliffhanger, where Rey finds Luke Skywalker, and the First Order has completely wiped out the Republic, and Supreme Leader Snoke is in power, and we have our group of Resistance members who are now rebels and on the run. Overall, I was super excited for this film. I could not wait to see it. When I bought the tickets, I cried, and you can see just how excited I was by just viewing the trailer of this movie. I tried to not theorize and to stay away from speculating what's gonna happen because I wanted to be surprised and I didn't want to go in with any certain expectations. And I think that helped me a lot in watching this film because this film is a very, very different Star Wars movie. Now, The Last Jedi is definitely not without its flaws, but I loved it. I enjoyed it so much, especially when I watched it a second time, and I highly recommend a second viewing because it's a lot to take in. I was so overwhelmed the first time I saw it, I couldn't even form an opinion. Now, having seen it twice, I'm ready to tell you what I thought about it, and I'm going to start with the top 3 things that I liked about The Last Jedi. Number 3, unpredictability. This is a risky Star Wars movie. Probably the riskiest we've ever gotten in the series. There's a lot of twists and turns that I personally didn't see coming. Sometimes a little uncomfortable because something so different and so strange from what we're used to and what we're comfortable with can feel a little weird sometimes. But over time, I felt like those changes were actually kind of exciting because I didn't know what's gonna happen next in the movie, which made the third act of the film a lot of fun. The Force Awakens took a lot of heat for being basically a rehash of A New Hope, and I agree with some of those points, even though I love The Force Awakens. And I'll always encourage filmmakers to take a chance on films and take risks and try to break the norms that we are getting so used to. Of course, it's not completely out of the blue. There are a bunch of things that you do see coming, and there are things that are predictable in the film because at the end of the day, it is a Star Wars film, but it also feels like a Rian Johnson film, and I like that. I like seeing the director's touch in the final product. The number 2 thing I liked about The Last Jedi was the character dynamics. This movie allows different characters to play off each other and even challenge each other in different ways, and it creates a really cool dynamic and chemistry between them in the process. And to me, that was one of the things that attracted me so much to the film and to the narrative, especially the fact that these dynamics were super enhanced by amazing performances by almost everybody in the film. One of the best dynamics in the film is the relationship between Rey and Kylo Ren and Luke. These 3 characters played off each other amazingly, and I feel that the actors were given things that I didn't expect them to have in a movie like this. And of course, you have the Kylo Ren and Luke history, and how they deal with that was also gripping and very intense and highly emotional. There was also a cool dynamic between Princess Leia and Poe Dameron, or General Organa, whatever. And also gave Poe Dameron a lot to do and a really interesting character arc. And then you have the Rey versus Kylo Ren, light side versus dark side, and the struggle between them and the pull and push between the two of them. All very gripping stuff. Look at all these dynamics. It was pretty cool. The number 1 thing I liked about The Last Jedi was the visuals. Oh God, this movie looks amazing. This is by far the best looking Star Wars movie ever made. Boom! Nothing has looked this good. Nothing. There are cool color palettes and color schemes that make this film so unique in how it looks. Like the color red in this movie is like, so good. And even the fight choreography in this film is amazing. Some people, like me, prefer the older way of lightsaber fights, which are not so smooth and not so articulate that happen in the prequels. I call them the flippity floppity floop fights. What I liked about The Last Jedi is the fact that there were a lot of big, wide shots of fight sequences where you see everybody from head to toe. And the way that it was choreographed and shot, it felt like they were samurai fighters, which looked so cool. Everything looked amazing. This movie is visually stunning. I cannot praise it enough. I'm freaking out about it. There are shots in there that I would literally pause, print, put on my wall. Very soon you might actually see it on my wall. I don't really have a lot of space here, but somewhere else. Now, this movie is not perfect. It is not without its flaws. So I'm gonna point out the things that I personally didn't like about The Last Jedi. Number 3, some CGI. I love the fact that the new Star Wars movie brought back a lot of the puppeteering and practical effects that were used in the original trilogy. However, there are other elements where they use a lot of CGI that didn't work for me. Snoke did not work for me visually speaking in The Force Awakens, and it's the same here. There were also some chase sequences here that looked a little bit cartoonish and looked like something straight out of the prequels. And when I see something that I feel that is not real and made by little computers, it takes me out of the movie and I don't like it very much. And it happens sometimes in The Last Jedi. Number 2, the pacing. This, I believe, is the longest Star Wars movie, and sometimes it feels that way. The reason for this is there are certain things that take too long, and they also feel like too much of a diversion from the main storyline. And when that happens, you feel like the movie screeches to a halt and you're waiting for the storyline to resolve, and it makes the film feel a little slow when it shouldn't be. The number one thing I didn't like about The Last Jedi was some story elements. Don't freak out. I'm not gonna spoil anything. I'm just gonna talk generally. So calm down. This is going to be the thing that's most debated by anybody who watches Star Wars. What happens in the story? What happens to these characters? Some of the stuff that happened here worked very well for me and I liked it a lot, but there are other things that have happened that I didn't personally enjoy. One of the things that didn't really work out for me is certain things that happened with Princess Leia. I liked the direction that they took with her, but I just didn't like it in terms of execution. And on the other hand, there was also the storyline between Finn and the new character that was introduced, which was Rose. Both of them interesting characters that I like, but the storyline that they were both a part of didn't work well for me, and some of it was a little cheesy, to be honest. And even the planets and the places that they visit didn't work for me either. I didn't like how they looked. They felt more like stuff from the prequels, and even then maybe not a place you'd find in Star Wars at all. It just didn't work for me. The thing about this movie for me is that story elements that worked really well, and I loved them, but story elements that did not work at all, and they were on the exact opposite spectrum. Look guys, at the end of the day, a Star Wars film is not something that you come into without any emotion attached. Some of you, and like myself, have grown up with it, so it's very hard for this film to be taken in an unbiased manner. Also, a lot of Star Wars fans seem to hate this movie. I don't know why, but I mean, I kind of know why, but I don't agree. But generally, the hardest people and the people who hate Star Wars movies the most are Star Wars fans. I mean, I want to talk. I hate the prequels more than like disease, you know? So Star Wars fans are a complex bunch, I'll tell you that. All in all, I was very surprised by The Last Jedi, but I was not disappointed. I think it's an incredible addition to the saga and I enjoyed it thoroughly, and for that reason, I'm going to give Star Wars The Last Jedi an 8.5 out of 10. By the way, I'd like to point out that this is my first green review because I've signed a pledge for a movement here called Greener Screens, which encourages filmmakers and people in the production industry to start thinking about being environmentally friendly in their productions. And I've shot this on LED lights and it looks pretty cool. And I've also started using reusable water bottles instead of plastic bottles. And that's pretty much all I can do for this particular production, but I encourage all of you to visit their website, Greener Screens. It's in the description below, and check out what kind of initiative and best practices that you can follow. So, did you watch The Last Jedi? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Is your childhood ruined? Do you think I'm stupid and crazy for liking this film? Lose your mind in the comment section, and as always, like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to tell me what you'd like me to review for you next. See ya!